Welcome back. You're watching News Center. Thank you very much for staying with us. I want us to continue with that conversation we were having. My guests still are Alex Materi, policy expert, and Joe Halende, political strategist. Now, Alex, coming to you, Joe did mention that accessibility of funds is the problem, and that is why the Deputy President needed to go benchmark. Your thoughts about this?
First, I think they need to choose a story. They need to choose a storyline that will stick to Kenyans. And they have been very complacent in terms of the storyline that they're giving concerning this Ugandan trip. Honorable Oscar Sudi came and told us about modern fruit farming. The Deputy President talked about the investment of a manufacturing plant for vaccines in Uganda. Joe Halende and his other minions and followers and sycophants of the Deputy President, now they are talking about learning from the Wealth Creation Fund. And probably just to bring him close to what the kind of experiences that Kenyan farmers are actually facing. When you talk about in terms of subsidies that are being offered by the government. I remember the Deputy President being on record, and you know, Ashley, I come from a farming community that back there in Trans Nzoia. He talked about setting up a fertilizer plant in Eldoret. That was sometime back in 2016. Almost 6 years later, we haven't seen that fertilizer plant. And in as far as farming is concerned, you cannot subsidize inputs in the farm unless you have subsidized the production of those same inputs, and you have actually cut the kind of importation that we are doing in terms of fertilizer and other inputs that are required at the farm. And linked to that is the aspect that there is no clarity of the kind of things that he wants to do. When you talk about ensuring that money goes down there to the farmer, those are some of the things that we are proposing under BBI. Agriculture in itself, it's actually a devolved function of the county governments. When you talk about increasing the revenue share from 15% to 35%, we have that basic farmer at heart to ensure that at least he can get subsidies from the county governments, he can get capacity building from the county governments, he can get those county governments setting up markets for the farm produce that those people are producing at the market at that particular level. Joe comes from Busia, and he has said that and alluded to the fact that sometimes he bridges the law by crossing over Uganda. He stays in Kenya, but he has planted these cassavas over Uganda, and he thinks that the Deputy President can also follow the same kind of misdemeanor when it comes to observing the rules and regulations. And I think it's somehow ignominious that we can allow investors who want to set up manufacturing plants, rather than them setting up in Kenya, they want to go and set up there. And again, in terms of the capacity and the people that you are working with, Oscar Sudi does not have any expertise in agricultural matters. And again, they came up and threw back the story that they are learning from the NRM structure. In terms of democratic credentials, Uganda is where we were in 1983, just after the coup. We have nothing to learn from them in terms of government. In terms of democracy, we have nothing to learn with them. In terms of tolerance, we have absolutely nothing to learn with them. So when it comes to benchmarking, whichever sector, even in the economy, the Ugandan economy is almost a third of what we are having now. For us, we are giants. For them, they are dwarfs. It's actually the dwarf to learn from the giant. It's not the giant to go and learn from the dwarf when it comes to economy and when it comes to the political matters.
All right, I want us to move on from that. Now, how soon can the One Kenya Alliance roll out its manifesto and unveil its 2022 presidential lineup? This is the question in the minds of strategists and supporters of the political outfit following the collapse of the National Super Alliance and the birth of a new alliance bringing together Wiper, ANC, Ford Kenya and KANU. Our senior political affairs reporter Murimi Mwangi now highlights the weighty task of the alliance's technical committee and explains why Kenya's strategists in the team are split between unveiling a lineup before Christmas and early next year.
In a game where they say a single day is a very long time, every second of a political maneuver counts a great deal.
One nation.
And to the recently unveiled One Kenya Alliance under ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi, Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula and KANU National Chairman Gideon Moi. How to best manage the 12 months leading up to next year's polls is a complex headache.
Well, we are aware, Murimi, of those challenges. But we are not at liberty at this stage. We must also be strategic, we'll be open about it. We'll be keeping the media notified of every step.
KTN News has learned that key among the priority areas of the 8-member technical committee is fixing the coalition secretariat to be located in Karen, the selection of the coalition's official colors, logo and slogan, as well as analysis of the individual political parties' main campaign areas to form the foundation for the One Kenya Alliance 2022 manifesto. Yet an even more complex assignment confronts the team, the puzzle of who among the perceived flag-bearer frontrunners, Mudavadi, Kalonzo and Moi, should head the coalition's presidential lineup.
The technical team where I was sitting at and the political team have given the principals 90 days. A 90-day framework to complete discussions, to complete paperwork, to complete outreach, to the extent that the idea is that by the time people are going for their Christmas, everything should be on the table. Insiders
say those keen on the coalition unveiling its candidate before Christmas want to borrow from the 2002 National Alliance of Kenya (NAK) model, where opposition leaders Charity Ngilu and the late Michael Kijana Wamalwa settled on the candidature of then DP party leader Mwai Kibaki, long before the acrimonious rupture of the Independence Party KANU. Where, as expected, KANU rebels under the Rainbow Movement, including Odinga, Kalonzo and the late George Saitoti, sought an alliance with the opposition. They were, however, compelled by the NAK team to endorse its flag-bearer Kibaki, who had already been on the campaign trail for a while. As Kim insiders say, could be primarily meant to tame a likely Odinga reunion with Mudavadi, Kalonzo and Wetangula.
NASA ilifanya kazi yake ni ikakwisha. Hiyo haimaanishi kwamba hatuwezi kuungana tena.
The only person they can talk to reduce their presidential ambition, if at all, is Raila. For Ruto, he is decided. And if you join him because he's at the top. For Raila, the discussion is how do we make him this time not the flag bearer and then come and support.
I want to invite you to go and read the history of Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. And they are alive in Hollywood. They married and divorced 5 times.
The Court of Appeal is in just over 2 weeks expected to rule on the recently nullified Building Bridges initiative, among whose recommendations the return of the post of Prime Minister and 2 deputies is seen as critical to the coalition formation framework. Unless realignments intensify, key strategists remain on the alert as the clock ticks fast to the 2022 polls. Murumi Mwangi, KTN News.
All right, Joe, coming to you from that story, alliances are in the offing. We saw the Deputy President say he cannot work with Raila Odinga. And equally, Raila Odinga has not yet ruled out the option of working with One Kenya Alliance. So then what options does the Deputy President have when it comes to alliance as we head to 2022?
The only alliance that the Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto, is working with is the Hustler Nation movement, which will eventually form into a political party called UDA. That is the only alliance that the Deputy President has categorically stated that he is going to work with, the Hustler movement, an alliance with an agenda for the people of this country, with an alliance that is going to talk about the economic situation and how to revitalize our economy in this country. That is the only alliance that is going to work with. But politics being politics, and politics is a game of possibility and not impossibility. If any of the political leaders that are around and they are ready to work with the Deputy President, they will work with him under the umbrella of Hustler Nation because they have the same agenda for this country.
Okay, coming to you, Alex, as we conclude, the Deputy President has ruled out working with Raila Odinga. You know, he accused Raila Odinga of derailing government's project. At the same time, he said he has to be distant. He cannot be associated with the progress within this 5 years, but instead the past 5 years of the term. Talk to us about that as we conclude.
Chinua Achebe says that let the hawk perch and let the eagle perch. Whichever says no to the other, may its wings break. I think in as far as our politics is concerned, we need to be open, we need to be pragmatic, we need to be objective, and allow this kind of groupings, this kind of interactions between our political leaders. And I think what Oka is doing is good. We are currently watching the Olympics, and you know there's hit 1, hit 2, hit 3, semi-finals, then we go to the finals. And I think what Oka is doing is basically the hit 1. Everyone is trying to show their muscles, everyone is trying at least to ensure that they qualify for the finals. But definitely when it comes to the finals, Raila Amolo Odinga is there, and you've even heard the kind of utterances that some of their leaders have made, and welcoming to the effect that they are welcoming Raila Amolo Odinga to the kind of political outfit that they are weaving, to make sure that in 2022 we only have 2 horse races. That one that is led by propaganda and that is inured by the urgent need to hoodwink the young people of this country, and the other side that thinks that we can rethink this country and make it better by ensuring that devolution works, ensuring that healthcare works, ensure that we have tolerance among communities, ensuring that in terms of governance, in terms of the anti-corruption crusade, everything works. So I think in 2022 we are going to have those 2 horse races. Okay. In as far as the deputy president is concerned, we have heard his utterances. He says that he does not and is not willing to work with Raila Amolo Odinga, and he ascribes that to post-handshake era, and he says that nothing successful has been done in that era. And just to remind you, the white people say that, you know, success has many fathers, but failure is fatherless. And I think that is what the deputy president is trying to tell us.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Alex Materia, policy expert, and Joe Halende, political strategist. Thank you very much for joining us here on News Center this morning. Now, moving on, a day after KTN News highlighted the plight of 26-year-old John Mangongo, a person living with albinism from Manoa village in Mwatate in the county of Taita Taveta, a